Sometimes the biggest changes come as a whisper. There's no shouting, no warning sign. One morning, you just wake up and realize nothing is the same anymore. But does the problem start in your body or inside your mind? What I'm going to talk about today is a transformation that millions of people quietly go through but can't quite name. And if you don't notice this change, one morning, you won't just wake up slow, you'll wake up alone. After you turn 60, getting up in the morning starts to feel like a chore. That little crack from your knee before you straighten your back, your head spinning a bit as you walk to the bathroom, that need to hold your breath just to put your shoes on. But none of this happens all at once. That's the thing. The change has already started, but by the time you notice, you're already used to it. As your muscles shrink, your spirit does too. But no one tells you this. When your body slows down, your mind is left alone. And a lonely mind can break down even the strongest body. For men, this transition is even quieter because for years you've been told, be strong, don't complain, keep your head up. But nobody's ever asked, but what if you're tired? Because getting older isn't just about your hair turning gray. Getting older is when you wake up one morning and don't even feel excited about your favorite coffee. Things that used to make you happy now are just habits. And at this point, a lot of men start telling themselves without even realizing it, I guess at this age, no. This video is here to stop that thought right there. Let me tell you about John. John is a 67-year-old retired history teacher. He used to play soccer in his youth and has always stayed active. But 3 years ago, because of a simple herniated disc, he started going for walks less and less. First, his daily morning walk dropped to once a week. Then he stopped going altogether. It hurts, he said. I'm retired anyway, he said. But then other things started happening. No one really noticed that John started waking up later, sleeping worse, and skipping breakfast. He'd often fall asleep on the couch in front of the TV. Even his favorite history documentaries didn't interest him much anymore. Over time, his phone calls with friends got shorter too. And one day, when his daughter called, John said something that summed it all up. Don't worry, sweetheart. I don't really go out much anymore. But no one questioned that word anymore in his sentence. This wasn't just a physical decline. This was a symphony of loneliness that started deep inside. And when that symphony goes quiet, the loudest sound you hear is silence, the exhaustion of the soul. That's why in this series, the first thing we'll talk about is this. Does getting older slow us down? Or do we age because we slow down? The answer is hidden in how the two dance together. In part 2, we'll explore the first step of this dance, the silent signs of psychological decline and how they affect your body. Are you ready? Because true strength starts with listening to the silence. Sometimes when people ask, how are you? We just give an automatic answer. I'm fine. But how many times has that I'm fine covered up the truth? How many times have we used it just to end the conversation? And here's the real question. How many times has our body actually believed that I'm fine lie? This is how emotional collapse starts. No noise, no tears, no screaming. Just one morning, you realize something's missing inside you, but you can't quite explain it. Depression looks different in men, especially women cry. They share, they talk. But men, they go quiet. They stop talking. They avoid eye contact. Things they used to enjoy start to seem like a waste of time. This isn't aging. This is your soul pulling back inside itself. And sadly, this kind of collapse starts to show up physically too. Sleep problems, waking up at night, sleeping late in the morning, appetite changes, sometimes not eating, sometimes constantly snacking, low energy, not just struggling with stairs, but struggling just to get out of bed, forgetfulness. Where are the keys? Where did the glasses go? But the real thing that's missing is enthusiasm. David was a 64-year-old retired carpenter. His hands could still work, but he just didn't feel like it anymore. The Kaufik-san. He hadn't opened his workshop door in months. Kaufik-san. His wife had passed away a few years ago, and his kids lived in other cities. One morning, while looking out the window, he said, I don't know what I'm getting up for. That sentence is an alarm bell, but because it's so quiet, most people don't hear it. David had back pain but didn't go to the doctor, because deep down he wasn't really neglecting his body, he was neglecting his soul. And whenever someone suggested he go for a walk, he'd say, what's the point of walking alone? But here's where science comes in. Research shows that in older adults who do light exercise, symptoms of depression drop by 30 to 40%. Even just walking increases serotonin and dopamine in the brain. So that walk you keep saying, I don't feel like it, is actually the very first step to getting out of loneliness. But you have to take that step in your mind first. Let's be honest now. How many times did you want to go outside but just said forget it? How many times did you want to be happy when someone called but never picked up the phone yourself? The answer to those questions isn't in your body. It's in the silence of your heart. Because real tiredness isn't in your muscles. It's in your soul, which has gotten used to nobody asking anymore. And now, here's a small but powerful suggestion. Even if you're alone, get dressed, grab your coffee, and just step outside the door. Take that first step. Because that step isn't just touching the ground. Hey, it's stepping back into life. Sometimes, just taking one single step is all it takes to reconnect with life. But if you've spent years sitting behind a desk, or if your heart has been waiting for someone for years, taking that step can feel harder than you think. Still, here's the truth. Staying still doesn't just weaken your muscles. It eats away at your soul too. And one day, when you look in the mirror, you won't just see an aging body. You'll see a man who's lost himself. Now, imagine this. You open the curtains in the morning. The first light of the sun shines on your face. But inside, you still feel dark. Right then and there, you make a choice. Will you just stay in bed and wait? Or even with that voice inside you saying nothing will ever change, will you get up and do something? That answer is what sets the direction for your life. Michael was a 70-year-old retired mailman. His whole life had been about walking. But after he retired, pain in his knees started, and he walked less and less. One morning, he sat on the bench across from his house for hours and said to himself, "No one calls me, no one's waiting for me. Who even cares if I walk?" But the next day, his grandson showed up as a surprise. He gave him a little digital wristband as a gift. Mace. It just had one message. "Grandpa, I'm going to count every step you take." After that day, Michael went out for a walk every morning. But he wasn't just taking steps, he was reconnecting. Because sometimes, what gets you moving isn't the strength in your knees. It's knowing that someone still cares about you. What does science say? Regular physical activity stimulates nerve cells in the brain. Coordination and balance exercises boost the reflexes that slow down with age. Most importantly, exercise increases the hormones that lift your mood. So a walk doesn't just burn calories. It burns away loneliness too. Pruning a few branches in the yard, walking to the morning market, even doing some light stretching at home. It all works like medicine, not just for your body, but for your spirit too. Remember, mental clarity isn't some miracle. A brain that moves stays sharp. Just like muscles, thoughts get stronger the more you use them. Staying still blurs your memory and shortens your attention span. But even a simple exercise routine helps clear your mind. And here's one line that sums up this whole section. For a good mood, you don't just need laughter. You need to sweat a little too. When you sweat, it's not your heart that's getting lighter. It's your worries leaving your body. And the more you walk, it's not just the road ahead that opens up. It's your own inner journey too. There was a time when someone called you every morning. A110? A friend, a partner, a buddy. Maybe a neighbor would wave from the window. Kendik Dokanam, maybe someone at work would ask, "How are you today?" But then, those voices faded, one by one. And without realizing it, you got used to the silence. Or maybe let's put it this way. You thought putting up with silence was maturity. But here's the truth. People never really get used to being alone. They just bottle it up. Your social circle gets thinner as you get older. Work life ends. Kids go their own way. Friends become fewer. Some people move away. Some drift out of your life without even saying goodbye. And then one morning you wake up. Your phone hasn't rung at all. No one's knocked at the door. And you start accepting that day as normal. But it's not normal, because people lose a part of themselves when they don't share. Loneliness isn't just silence. It's a structure collapsing from the inside out. And over time, it starts to show up like this. Getting more irritable. Not enjoying anything during the day. Thinking too much about the past. Never talking about the future. Basically, instead of living, you start just waiting. Walter was a 72-year-old former banker. Disciplined, punctual, a quiet man. After his wife passed away, he always said, "I'm fine," so he wouldn't bother anyone. But nobody knew that every morning he sat in the same cafe for hours, drinking tea all alone, except for the waiter. One day, the cafe owner put up a little sign, We've started a Saturday morning walking group. No age limit. Walter read that sign and walked away for 2 weeks. But on the third Saturday, he quietly stood up, put on his jacket, and walked out. That day, he met 6 people. 2 weeks later, one of them started playing bridge with him. A month later, a young neighbor who treated him like a grandpa started inviting him to breakfast. And that day, for the first time, Walter realized this. Loneliness isn't fate. It's just a silent waiting. Science says social interactions are critical for brain health. Meeting up with friends at least once a week lowers depression risk by 20%. Exercise done in a group lasts 40% longer than when done alone. So sometimes, just walking isn't enough. You need to walk with someone. Simple but powerful suggestion. Have coffee with a friend twice a month. Make a phone call, even a short one, every week. Say hi to your neighbor. Tell your grandchild, I'd like to see you. Maybe pick up an old hobby and share it again. Because remember, the soul heals best when someone notices it. Sometimes life feels like a chain. Every day looks the same. You wake up, have a quiet breakfast, watch some TV, and then just wait again. But without even realizing it, the key to that chain that's suffocating you is right in your pocket. And most of the time, that key isn't a thing. It's a routine. You can't really separate physical and mental health. Because when you neglect one, the other quietly suffers too. But here's the good news. There are rituals that nourish both at the same time. And do you know when they start? When you play a song, when you water a plant, or when you just sit there, sipping your coffee, really feeling the moment. Clara was a 68-year-old widow. She had lost all motivation for life after her husband passed away. But one day, she noticed the geranium they'd planted together years ago was blooming. Then she did something small. She loosened the soil. The next day, she moved on to another pot. Within a week, her balcony had turned into a little garden. But the real change wasn't in those flowers. It was in Clara's eyes, because now she had a reason to wake up in the morning. Something alive needed her, and maybe it reminded her that she was still alive too. These kinds of small rituals, listening to music, reading a book, making tea, keeping a notebook, aren't just ways to pass the time. They reorganize your mind. They put your inner world back in order. Here are some tips that support both your physical and mental health at the same time. Make exercise enjoyable. Walk with music. Stretch in the morning sunlight. Get a pet or spend time caring for one. These daily responsibilities encourage both movement and emotional connection. Make little daily plans. Clean the balcony today. Set up a reading nook tomorrow. Go outside. Just 15 minutes of sunlight a day brings not just vitamin D, but hope as well. Meditate or pray. Even 5 minutes in the morning is enough for mental clarity. And most importantly, a ritual equals repeated hope. If you take a warm shower every morning, then sit by the window with your coffee and watch a bird. That's a shield against depression. Because you're saying, I exist. Because you're saying, I still feel. Let this be the memorable line for this section. The soul finds rest in small joys that are repeated. Don't underestimate those little joys. The blooming of a flower. The taste of a cookie you bought for yourself. The feeling you get from an old photograph. These can bring back the inner voice that's been missing for years. Sometimes life tells us you're too late. But the truth is, most of the things we think we're late for are actually still right on time. Because what really matters isn't your age. It's not the year. It's definitely not your birth date. What really matters is how fully you live today. And here's what we've realized together. Body, mind, and soul. They're like links in a chain. If one is missing, the others fall apart too. If one had go wad. But when they all grow stronger together, you feel like you're born again. Remember, we started this series with a quiet morning. We talked about souls that go silent, not just muscles that slow down. But in every section, we put something up against that silence. Small steps against physical pain. Social connections against emotional fatigue. Intentional rituals against inactivity. And most importantly, that inner voice that says, I'm still here. Now ask yourself, what did I do for my body today? What thoughts did I feed my mind? What did my soul feel? What did it connect with? The answers to those 3 questions will pull you out of the weariness that years can bring. Because it's not about living longer. It's about living deeper, more connected, and more real. Daniel was a 66-year-old former construction worker. One early morning, he stepped out on his balcony and took a deep breath. For the first time, he asked himself, "What do I want to do today?" And his answer was small but special. Just move, just feel. That day, he took a short walk, Munksall, then he made some tea, Munksall. After that, for the first time in years, he took out his old guitar. His fingers struggled a bit, but the sound was familiar. Because that sound was the inner voice of a man holding on to life again. Remember, 10 minutes of stretching is better than an hour of feeling numb. A chat with a friend is worth more than 10 silent days. A routine is as regulating as any medicine. And sometimes, a piece of music, a prayer, a single moment, can make you forgive the whole past. Move your body, surprise your mind, rest your soul, and most importantly, don't stop growing just because you're getting older. Closing line. No matter how old you are, you can always start again. Because the soul has no age. And a single step, an intention, a smile, can sometimes erase the weight of the whole past. Do something today. Let it be small, but let it be for you. Because behind every strong body is a mind that believes in itself and a heartbeat that's powered by love. And now, as we close out this series, I just ask you for one thing. Open a calendar just for yourself. Write one word each day. Maybe, I walked. Maybe, I smiled. Maybe just, I lived. Because life isn't measured by the pages, but by the marks you leave on them. Thank you, and remember, you are still here. And that makes all the difference. If this video touched you, it could reach someone else out there who feels just like you. Every week, we're here with content to help you make peace with your body, refresh your mind, and reconnect with your soul. You're not alone on this journey. To get stronger together, to walk this path together, and to remember together, subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click the bell icon so we can take every new step together. Because sometimes, just one video can set a whole life in a new direction.